All right, traders, welcome to today's recap. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and it is Thursday, January 14th. So, one more day before the end of the week. Tomorrow's Friday. It is options expiration. Also, we have a 3-day weekend ahead of us, too. Don't forget, we have Monday off. I actually didn't realize that until some point the middle of this week. I was like, oh, geez, that's right. Monday is a holiday, so markets are closed on Monday. So what do we have today for the market? Well, I would say some pretty drastic outperformance again for IWM over the other major indices. Kind of interesting here today. We saw the VIX go up almost 5% for the day, and S&P and Qs just looked a little bit wobbly. Especially kind of towards the end of the day, middle of the day too. We just kind of saw this VIX grinding higher. That was basically starting around lunchtime, right? Just kind of was a little bit. Had some pop to it, and then from 2 o'clock on, I was on Bloomberg earlier, and for some reason I feel like whenever I'm on Bloomberg, at least maybe 65% of the time when I go on Bloomberg just to talk for I go on their option insight segment for a few minutes. And it seems like whenever I look over, because I've got the VIX on the side of the screen, I see the VIX spiking. It didn't happen the last time that I was on, but the time before that. I'm like, what is going on? But in any event, up 4.7% for the day. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting to me that this, I've been showing this ratio a bit where you've got IWM in the numerator, Qs in the denominator. I don't think I showed it yesterday, but probably either Tuesday or Wednesday. But yeah, this continues. We saw the Qs outperform. Was it? I'm getting my days confused, but I think it was either yesterday or the day before. But you could see that it's really IWM is running with the ball here, and I mean that's a pretty good. Divergence, not divergence, but sorry, a separation. IWM was up 2% for the day, and the Qs down. So that's down 0.5%. So that's 2.5% difference, right? So, one of the things that I've been talking about recently is, playing some themes, but I still have like a lot of, I'll have my positions not purposely diversified, but I don't have all my eggs in one basket in terms of like I don't have all small caps on, I don't have all large caps, I don't have all tech. I'm playing different themes and I'm playing relative strength. But on days like this where just one, the small caps are outperformed this much and SPY and Qs are a little bit iffy, you're going to have some trouble spots. It's just what happens when you look at this performance when you have such a big move out of one group and not so much out of the others. If we go back to the S&P for a minute, we keep hovering around this top of value. We kind of return back here. I don't want to say it's the return to the scene of the crime, but the top of value, this 37.90 seems sticky. So we could fall in here. I kind of made that. I've been making that reference all week. I wouldn't be surprised if we did. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of volatility. So keep that in mind. Yeah, a little bit of a head fake, I would say, because we have been trying to go higher as well, and we just can't get through last week's resistance. Now, put things in the main thing, I think, is to put things in perspective a bit. Remember, look at what happened last week, right? We had a huge move towards the end of last week. Just, don't get caught. I would say I see a lot of traders like getting caught up in, the minute-to-minute chart. Think about things in perspective. We're in the second week of the year. We're going to have some digestion at which is kind of what you see, in this chart. But I think also we're going to have some volatility a little bit. I don't know when that happens, but one of the things that I was saying at the end of the day was to make sure you're reviewing your positions. Right, I talked a little bit about that in yesterday's video. I made the analogy of a deck of holding a hand of cards. Rummy 500 was what I was talking about. So make sure you go through your positions, right? And the other thing that I try to do a lot of times when I do have a decent amount of positions on is I set downside alerts. there's two different alerts that I like to set up. When I'm looking to add new positions and I'm going through my charts when I'm doing my homework at night, I'm placing a lot of trading, I'm placing a lot of alerts where I'm interested in getting into positions. Once I have the position on, what's important is to set a downside alert, right? When you have a position on and you're honoring a stop price, I try. Sometimes I forget every once in a while, but I really try to make sure that you're aware so that there's no surprises when something starts breaking through support, right? And if you look at some names today, I think we kind of had a case of that. By the way, so Q's, by the way, we've revisited, we revisited almost this bottom of value where we got to what was this Tuesday when we kind of fell into support and found some support. Buyers came in a little bit. So this was the second time, and we're almost down to the third time that we're testing that. So again, not exactly the same exact chart for S&P and for Qs, but they're similar in terms of sitting on the top of value like that. And then again, IWM is just running, right? Big week last week, big week this week again. So very, very impressive. IWC, which is microcaps as well, that's up almost 3%. So it's a very, for lack of a better word, it's a very interesting market, right? We talked about as well, all the call buying that's been going on. When I talked about Bloomberg, they specifically asked me about, all the volume that's happening in the call options, and if I view that as a cause for concern. It's one of those things, right? It's a piece of the puzzle that is, a little bit concerning. And, my response to that is, continue to monitor your positions, right? And realize that we could get a turn in the market, that a move down at this point would shake out a lot of what's called the weak hands in the market, right? So, I would be prepared for all outcomes, right? And that's all we can kind of really say because I don't have a sell signal yet. It's damn near close, and I've talked about this too a couple times that we could see a check back in here too, but it's really tough. What I'm doing right now is I'm speculating, right? And and clearly we are seeing some things kind of break down, like Facebook, for instance, which again you kind of know why, but because of all the political stuff going on. But Facebook's down another 2.3% today. There also seemed to be a pretty decent rotation out of fintech, right? So I got lucky. I had a whole bunch of tech problems this morning in the first almost hour of the day. I don't want to badmouth the broker that I use, but they weren't working for an hour. I couldn't bring up a quote. I couldn't do anything. I set a lot of my trades up pre-market, so I was able to get some fills. But I was long this ARK-F ETF, which actually did okay today. This is the fintech ETF. But if you look at fintech, I tried playing a little bit of Square today. It still ended up on the day, but I got stopped out in that trade today, even though the chart looks fine. But options are a little bit different. If I was in stock, I probably would have stayed in it. But yeah, and then if you look at MasterCard too, so I don't have the reason for this other than my guess is that there may have been a broker downgrade in this group too. But my guess is, watching what's going on with bonds, that people are, that funds are rotating into more of the banks and getting out of maybe some of the fintech, which have been safety places where people they're probably a little bit overcrowded. There's been a lot of people have been moving in those areas. But I'll tell you, what's kind of crazy is, I guess you could say that we had a false breakout. I played this about 2 weeks ago, and I'm trying to remember how I played this. I think I played this in calls, and I left the last piece on, and it just didn't do what I was looking for it to do, and I got rid of them. And the last piece of the trade was not a winner, I had to take that off for a little bit less than my cost basis, but I'm certainly glad I did. That's a big thing for me. If I talked about this yesterday with Honeywell. If I'm anticipating something to happen, right, a move to happen, and it doesn't do what I think it's going to do, and it starts looking iffy, I do get out of it, even if it's going to be a little bit of a loss. Because again, I've got a game plan. If it's not going to the game plan, then there's no reason for me to be in the trade. So what I was saying just a few minutes ago was go through your positions. I try to do this at least definitely once a week. I try to do it twice a week too, where I go through my positions and I look in each position. Is it still doing what I thought it was going to do? Is the signal that I got into the trade for, is it still present? Chop and sideways action is fine, right? And even like a little bit of a move down, especially like sometimes I chase trades a little bit. So even if, a little bit of a move down or sideways action is fine. But if it starts kind of breaking below what your signal was, for a breakout or for a bounce trade into support, if those things stop, if those things are not there anymore, what I do is I take the position off, right? I don't fight with it, because again, we're looking at all this option activity during the day, and there's plenty of things to kind of catch, and it's opportunity cost, right? If you're, even if it's something that hasn't broken down completely and is hanging on by a thread, and you're watching it, you're stressing over it, you're missing, the next good looking trade that's on the tape. So anyway, that's just my commentary that I like to throw in at every one of these videos, kind of what I think I'm going through. But yeah, today was a frustrating to not have systems work for me for both exiting and entering a couple trades for the first hour of the day. It's very frustrating when that happens. And I think that this type of thing, while the option volume is so hot, is going to continue to occur in various different trading systems. These things are just not meant to handle this much volume. So you're going to see it from time to time. All right, so we'll go through a couple charts. STNG. This is I'll tell you a quick story here in this Scorpio tankers. There was this story out overnight, well, story, but kind of headlines about China and, their trade surplus, right? So they are really shipping a lot of, or exporting a lot of products out. So what I've been hearing, in terms of news last night and a couple places on Twitter, is that they're having some shipping shortages, in terms of like containers. So Scorpio tankers, I went through some charts last night and found Scorpio tankers. I don't know if they have exact or direct exposure to that, but the chart looked pretty decent. And the president of the company recently bought like call options, which, so an insider buy in some effect and a speculative one. They bought, I think it was July in the money calls. So I'm looking for this thing to go to 1640. It was up 11%. I managed to take a couple targets. I bought this thing pre-market and then I added to it. So, again, I'm looking for further upside. But yeah, I think it's really interesting what's going out and what's going on in China right now. This is an ETF that I put out there yesterday. This is the MSCI China Industrial ETF. So it's got a basket of industrials, none of which really trade in the U.S. They're all local. So you can't really find single names to play with this, but this kind of tells you something, right? This is a big breakout by industrial companies in China. So we're hearing about steel as well, which has kind of been fueling things like a name that I traded last week, which is RS, which I'm looking at again, or like a Rio or a Valet. I mean, I keep hearing about steel prices continuing to go higher. So again, globally, I think that's pretty good, right? And then, of course, the other story, another big story, was Taiwan Semiconductor. It did not. You kind of got a funky looking, candle. This thing hit 134 and backed off pretty decently. I mean, this could be a little bit of a blow off top. Look at the volume. What I would say when I'm analyzing these candles for one particular day, Just because a candle looks really ugly, as this does, I would watch the short-term moving average. Sometimes we see this, and as long as it doesn't lose the short-term, like I have the 5-day moving average, 5-day exponential moving average on my charts, as long as the price doesn't lose that, it's fine, even though as ugly as that candle is, right? A lot of call activity today. So I would watch this tomorrow. Um, and notice that this, yeah, what a move here in the first hour and a half of the day. Huge, right? That's when my systems weren't working. I'm still long. I hope people weren't confusing this one with it. I took a target in this Tower Semiconductor. I'm still bullish engulfing. Micron is one that I'm watching. We saw a lot of January 29th calls that went up. I think about 15,000 of the January 29th. Yeah, 15,500 of the January 29th 86 calls. I do think Micron could continue to go here. I think it's a possibility. All right. There's a little bit of Western Digital calls today on the dip. There's a level to trade against if you like Western Digital, 48.82. All right. So that's something in there. A couple other names that we saw some option activity in that I took. What's the name of this thing? Maybe I got the wrong symbol. OZON. Right. So this is a Russian retailer. It's a new name. There's not a lot of history to it, but yeah, it's trying to break out. I took a target in this thing at $50 today. New trade for me. Again, February call buying in this one. What else? Let's see where this JIMI finished. So this thing did, this. I think we covered this possibly in yesterday's video. I know we talked about it in the trading room. I actually forget if we covered it in the video, but it stopped yesterday at the top of value, got through it. So let's see if this thing wants to break out further. I'm in it. I did take a target in it. I got in at 45.79. NAVI. Saw a lot of calls. Another one up 11% today. So this was nice. You could have played this one obviously with options. I think a couple traders played this with options. I played it with stock. I could not get into options because of the tech issues that I was experiencing. I got out of my SE trade, right? So this is a real nice trade. Again. Why did I get out of this thing? It's to me, I'm sorry, I'm forgetting if I covered these yesterday or in yesterday's Q&A session. I know I covered them in one video yesterday, either the member one or the free one after hours. But this has made a nice swing. So at this point, I'm out of it. Right, it's a little bit extended to me. Look how far it is away from the 5-period moving average. I like to sell rips in this thing and wait for it to consolidate back. Last time it kind of consolidated for about a month, right? It ripped higher, got a little bit ahead of itself, right? This was on the 9th of December. Kind of came back, didn't make a new high here. That's why I got that trend line drawn. Once it broke the trend line, I got back into it, and right around that 194. So this was a nice looking trade. Or excuse me, I guess I paid 181 for this one. So maybe I got in a little bit further. Here's my exit on ARC-F. That's fine. I wasn't trying to sell the whole thing, but like I said, had some issues. I got back into fuel cell a little bit. I saw a lot of positioning in this thing. It's holding that 5-period moving average. So I sold this the other day at 18. I got in at around 764. And I got out. I missed the very top, the last candle of this, but I'm back in it a little bit, right? Took some targets in apps. LAZR, which I got into yesterday, did not work today. Thank goodness I took a target in that yesterday. And then, it was a combination of just getting out of some things. I tried Boeing for a little bit today. It was not breaking out of value on the 1-hour chart. And I think that was a good move because I think it closed lower. I dumped it somewhere in here. But I was looking for this thing to actually try to make a run at the top of value. It didn't. So, As soon as I try something like this and it doesn't exactly work and I get out of it, I place an alert right back. So I'm interested in this thing if it can get back above 214.50. If not, I'm not really interested in it. PBI is another interesting one. Looks like this. Wow, it's up to 794 here after hours. So that's good because I did, a couple of these things that I see breakouts. I'm gonna play them, right? Because if this is a $7 stock, Pitney Bowes, you know, again, another small cap. So I'm participating in this small cap frenzy. And I think this thing can get to 894 is where I'll take my first target, and then looking at 989. Again, you kind of have to zoom out with some of these things, right? Because it's a big retracement that's going on, right? This thing was a $21 stock back here, a couple of years back. So it's doing a retracement thing. Weekly chart. Let's just take a look at that. Oh, there's a VPOC that's coming up here. I didn't see that. 823. So I don't know. Maybe that would be even though that's really close by, but it's going to have to get through that VPOC. See, sometimes I don't see these things. Blink, I tried playing a little bit of this one too. So again, like I said, a tough day. A little bit of of paper cuts for me today. I was looking for this thing to kind of charge higher. Get it? Charge higher. Blink charging. Not funny. It did not get above. So again, I was talking about this yesterday about trying some swing trades, and getting involved in them midday, and this thing did not get above. So again, I'll watch it. These things have huge momentum to them. So perhaps this thing can break out, but 54 is the line to watch there for a break higher. All right, guys. So that is it for today's recap. Thank you for watching. But yeah, just kind of realized. I think overall with this market, you're going to have some days that are a little bit more challenging. Today was one of those for me. Tech issues and a couple trades that didn't work on my end. Paper cut losses, most of them. All right, guys. Have a great night. See you tomorrow.